Before we move on to the mentor introductions, we're going to do a session on the KTH IRLs, the readiness levels. So I'm going to hand over to Lina Svensberg, who will put this in a perspective, and then Gustav Notander from KTH Innovation is going to guide you through the process and methodology that we're using here. So Lina, it's all yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. Just give me one little moment here, please. And there we are. We're going to revisit what I was doing in my very quick elevator pitch, that as, for example, Johan was mentioning that he's got these focus sessions, he's got access to the ecosystem, and that's how we build the program in order to make it fit for all these different needs. As you now understand, it have many different needs, there are very many different issues. So we have created this structure where we have the general program activities, and then you can choose which focus sessions you need as a startup. It can be an introduction about IPR, it can be a pitch deck review, it can be anything. And this we decide together week by week what is going to happen and where does the focus need to be. The mentoring program, as we have been hearing a bit about, is a very important part as well. Also the Slack community, where all of you should be invited, where we can have ad hoc support, questions, etc. is very important. The startup can also choose from support services. We have a bit of a budget for every startup where we can quickly fund whatever need they have. And I mean, of course, the big development costs, etc., are normally covered in their funding, whether it's soft or risk funding. But sometimes you need quick fixes that you need funding for, and there we can be a part of course. And then you have the access to the DigitalWell Ventures and Arena ecosystem, which is investors, it's the public sector, anything from test beds, innovation forums, customer discovery, etc. We've got collaboration with the universities, as you've also heard from some of the startups. And so that's more or less our world, our universe. This is how we structure the content in a program. And what we have noticed is that it's with all these different activities, all these different teams, all these different levels and business models of the startups, we need a roadmap. We need a dictionary, and we need a shared understanding of where they are. I mean, what issues are the most important? Where should we put the support services budget? Which focus session should we do in which order and with whom? And that's where we use the innovation readiness levels that you soon will hear more about. And I will also want to introduce, now when we go into non-pilot mode, so to say, we have started a new program content series where we, these combinations might be a bit cryptical for you. That will ease up very soon when Gustav comes in. But every week, Friday morning, we've got 1 hour together with a mentor that's specialized in an area that relates to one of the scales. It can be technology, team, business, etc. Which is basically fireside chat, I would say, between 1 and 2 mentors and the startups. The startups get a chance to know each other, to know the mentors. If any of you other mentors as well want to join, that's perfectly fine. It's also a private event, even though we might record some bits of it and share. And this is also a call out to the mentors that we don't use now in the first round. If you have anything that you want to share with the startups, anything that you feel important that lays within your expertise, and you want to host a Friday Mentor Breakfast after the summer, please get in touch, because we're going to set the program now the coming weeks. And so here we have got a chance to also adjust the program for what we see that the startups need. For example, tomorrow we're going to have TRL technology, which we focus on the MDR regulatory conditions, for example, with Elisabeth Liljensten from Devisia, because that's a topic that all of the startups should be aware of, and they should be sure if it applies to them or not. So that's how we can do that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and there, now you're back. So now I am very happy to introduce one of the brains behind the whole KTH IRL tool, and a collaborator to us, and he's also part of our advisory board in the Accelerator program, and we are very happy about the collaboration that we have. And Gustav Nothander, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Happy to be invited to talk here, and it's very exciting to see both the startups, all of them look really exciting, and to see how you structure the program around this innovation readiness level model. It's going to be very, very exciting to see how this moves forward, and I'm happy to be involved. Sharing another slide deck here, just to give some context to what I'm going to talk about. So just a brief introduction to this thing that we call the KTH Innovation Readiness Level Model. And I'll do it briefly, and then yeah, we can always dive into deeper things. So my name is Gustav Nothander. I'm a business coach at KTH Innovation, which is the support organization for innovation at KTH, the Royal Institute of Technology. What we do is that we help students, researchers, and other staff at KTH to commercialize research results and develop business ideas. And it's very early stage, so it's sort of, people come to us when they have an idea in their head of something they want to do, a product, service, concept, whatever, or a research result in the lab that they think has some sort of potential. And then we guide them on the journey from that stage to something that can reach the market. And in that work, we have developed over the years the innovation readiness level model as the framework that we use for our support. The background to it, which I think is relevant to understand, is that we deal with a lot of ideas. We're 8 business coaches. We have somewhere between, in the last few years, between 350 and 400 ideas coming to us every year. At any given point in time, we have around 280 ideas in our support process. So that's a lot of ideas. We're a lot of different coaches. So to have some sort of consistent quality, we need to have a common language. We need to have a common understanding of what do we need to do to advance, to help these ideas to move forward from idea to something that can reach the market. And that's the background of why a framework like this is relevant and can be necessary for high quality innovation support. And what we're talking about is this on a very high level. So the innovation readiness level is, you can call it a framework, a model, whatever you want, like, but it basically consists of 6 different scales, scales from 1 to 9, in the 6 areas that we believe and that we've seen over time are the most important areas to work with if you want to take a new idea to the market and commercialize it. These are, you can always find other things that you need to sort of work on. There are more detailed stuff, but on a high level for basically all types of ideas, we believe that these 6 areas cover the most important parts. And as I said, it scales from 1 to 9, where you can measure sort of the progress. So 1 means that it's basically just an idea. 9 means that it's fully out there, implemented in the market, and it's out there and it's working. And the whole concept is modeled on technology readiness level, which was the concept of the technology readiness level was developed by NASA, the American Space Agency, in I think the 60s or 70s, for their development programs for spaceships and stuff. We came in contact with it around 2009, 2010, thought it was we tried it out as a useful method to communicate with the researchers and students who come to us when you're in the situation of talking about, so how far have you come with the development of your idea? And they say, I have a prototype, I've been I've been researching for 10 years, we've done this, we've done that. And it's very hard to get a common understanding of how far have you actually come and how far do you have left before you have a product on the market. TRL worked really well for that purpose, so we thought, why not apply the same concept to other areas that are important in the business development process and innovation development process. So over time we devised these different ones. And basically on a very high level, it's customer readiness is about how close are you to actually selling your stuff to your intended customers? And the scale goes from sort of an initial understanding of the problem, the need, the customer, through verifying that, and ultimately up to sales and selling. Technology readiness is about the technology, the product, the concept, the thing that you're trying to sell, that you're trying to get out into the market. Sometimes people get too hung up on the word technology, but what we're talking about is really the concept that you want to get out there, and it can be applied to other, also non-technical innovation. But that again goes from idea that's in your head, something you develop in the lab or in a closed environment, to something that is more like a finished product, a system that's out there working in the real world. You know, the spaceship went to the moon, came back, and is ready to go again. Business readiness is about having economic viability, sustainable business model. So that's a combination of market size, your business model, how you can extract value, and understanding the competition. So all of those three parameters, they kind of show if you can have a viable business around your concept. And again, going from some sort of hypothesis in the beginning to verifying it in more detail through calculations and assumptions and customer feedback, and then ultimately proving it with actual sales and an actual working business model. IPR, that's about identifying and controlling and understanding how you can create value from the intellectual assets that you have. So it's both about knowing what you have and then about protecting in some cases, but at least controlling and being able to create value from your intellectual assets. The team side, obviously, you know, you start with one or two or a few people who may or may not have a good understanding of what you need in terms of team and competences to take your idea to the market. And ultimately, this scale is about going from that initial stage to building a high-performing team that's, you know, a strong team over time, in particular if you want to build a startup around it. And it relates both to competencies and to team alignment, so that you're kind of sitting in the same boat, rowing in the same direction type of thinking. And then finally, funding, because in most cases, if you want to develop your idea and if it's innovative, you typically are going to do lots of things before you have revenue coming into the business. And funding readiness is about identifying your funding needs, identifying how you can get that funding, and then putting yourself in a position to actually get the funding. And it can be both sort of public soft funding, and it can be in the later stages more towards venture funding. And so basically that's sort of the whole thing. All of the areas are important, all of the areas are interrelated, but you can measure them independently from each other. So that's something that, for us, it's been a good system of looking at how you can use this. Very briefly, not going to take too much more of the time, but it's important to understand the purpose of this. And the original purpose was communication. The original purpose was to be able to facilitate communication between us as business coaches and the idea owners who have the ideas. You get some sort of objective point of reference when you talk about where are we on the journey from idea to something on the market, and how far do we have left, and what is the next step. So that's a very, very important part of it. But I mean, the scales they're not divided, you know, the different levels from 1 to 9. It's not just, you know, randomly put in there, but they follow a logic, and we've designed them to follow the kind of current best practices in innovation and startup development. So they also follow some sort of good steps on the way towards getting your stuff out there on the market in a sustainable business model. And having this framework, having this roadmap is very helpful if you want to sort of do the right thing at the right time, and in the coaching process as well, to move forward. And that is both for the idea owners, for the team themselves, and for any external advisors, mentors, coaches, whatever that can be involved. And coming to this, the main use cases or big use cases in practice is everything around planning. It is a very good framework to use when you set goals, when you set next steps, actions that you need to take. You have a clear roadmap for how to move ahead. In some cases, you want to do more like a status review. Where are we now for different reasons? This gives you a kind of objective way of actually seeing where you are now. Also comparable to other projects and comparable over time. So you can see, you can map out progress over time. And the communication with different stakeholders, where again, you come back to the fundamental problem of, if I say that, well, we are early stage, we have a proof of concept, customers are really interested. That can mean a lot of different things depending on who hears it, and it's probably the person who hears it is probably not thinking about the exact same thing that I'm meaning when I'm saying it. Diving into some key benefits of this is that we have the visual aspect of it is important. You get an overview of partly which areas that are important to work with when you have a new idea, technology, product, service, whatever it is that you want to take to the market. Here you can see the different areas that you will have to work with to make it come true. And since it's broken down into steps, it also gives you the direction, which helps both in planning and in communication, both within the team and with other external people. You do get the more objective view, so it's kind of a reality check, which is often a good thing to have. And what you get, especially from the visualization in this radar type diagram, is that you can see if you've come very far in certain areas of your development of your idea, but in other areas maybe you're not as far ahead. So say if you're on level 5, 6, 7 on some of them and on level 2, 3 on others, maybe that shows that you have some things that you need to kind of pick up to reduce the risk of later having problems with stuff that you should have done earlier on. And for many people, this helps when you structure your work in your project, your action list, to-do list, whatever. And if you're an organization like an investor or like an accelerator or incubator or innovation office like us, it's also very helpful when you manage your portfolio. You can track progress, you can have more objective measures of stage gates, like gates in the process and things like that. So it also helps on both on a project level and on a portfolio level, if that's something that you're interested in. This is reflected, I'm not going to go into this, but basically this is just reflected how we use it. So it is about working with the cases from quick, when we first meet them, quick checkouts where they are, to kind of more advanced uses in planning and follow up during the work. Idea owners themselves, some of them really implement this in their day-to-day planning and activities. We even have a Trello kind of template for this so that people can use it if they want to have it in some sort of tool. In programs, much like this accelerator program, we use it for goal setting, content planning, and so on. And also in the process of, like most places, we have some sort of process where you go from sort of idea, describe it, verify potential, then kind of accelerate it towards the market. There you have these points where you can have objective measurement criteria in the process. And speaking of process and speaking of progress, this is the final thing that I'm going to bring up. And this is also important because the innovation readiness levels, they are designed to measure progress. How far have you come on the journey from an idea in your head to something that is fully implemented and working out on the market? So that's what its purpose is, that's what it's designed for, and that's where it can be very useful to kind of see, to track, evaluate and manage and guide the development, the progress in the development. But it doesn't say anything about the potential. It's not about how big market potential is it in this idea, how good quality is it. That's not what this measures. This is about progress. So it's just important to keep that in mind, that it's a tool to help you take an idea from just an idea stage to something that's implemented on the market. Then if it's a good idea or not, that's a different question. And we're sharing this model now under a Creative Commons license so that anyone who wants to use it in their work with developing ideas are free to use it. And if you have any questions, then this is where you can get in touch with me. Quick introduction to the innovation readiness level model.
Thank you very much, Gustav. Great presentation. I think that it's possible to go to your website, create a login, and there you will have a PDF, right, on each IRL, which is downloadable. And on each of the 9 scales, there's also a breakdown, right, on various details there. So I suggest you all do that and get familiar with the methodology. So thank you very much. Question back to you, Lina. Do you want to say a few words on how we use this framework also to create a curriculum and what partners we're working with in that process?
Yes, of course. What we do is that when we do our assessments, that's basically the first thing we do with the startup. We do a KTH assessment. Then we can see, what the startups are. So there's one thing. First of all, there's like we create kind of modules that fit. If you are on, let's say you're on funding 5, but you would need to get to funding 7, for example. We can create and curate a content and support services that fit you, and we can reuse that. So those modules evolve organically over time, depending on what works and what doesn't. So we create modules based on that. And then we're also, when we realized, because I've been working with this model in the innovation support that I funded last year, where we have supported 50 to 60 tech companies. And after sitting in around 30 IRL sessions with early stage entrepreneurs, I started sounding like, an old recording of myself. And I felt there must be a better way than to explain for 30 different entrepreneurs what a lean startup methodology is, for example. And then we started seeing that is something that we could probably digitalize and we can do it more easily. And first I started sending some links, look at this YouTube video after the meeting. Then I thought, okay, maybe if they would see, or read through some information first, and then we can talk about it in the meeting, that would be even better. So I started sending emails before. And then we said, like, okay, sending emails, it's not 2003, we must be able to do this in a different way. And then we thought Trello. So what Gustav mentioned there, the Trello structure is a structure where we do a checklist for the companies, and then we add contents. We are collaborating with Swedish incubators and with KTH, of course, and with representatives from Norwegian universities, Swedish universities, and we're collaborating. I think now it's 5 different Swedish universities and 3 incubators, I think, in creating the content, in gathering. When you're at this stage, this would be a good resource for you. When you're at this stage, this is something you could do, because the model tells you what you need to do, but it doesn't say how. It says that you should, you should fine-tune your pitch deck, but it doesn't say how many slides is a pitch deck. What are the crucial slides in a pitch deck? Is this good or not? Okay. And by gathering that, we can harmonize, and we can also spread and scale that knowledge, and in order to focus on the important things when we meet the entrepreneur.
All right, thank you, Lina. Fantastic. We're going to move on into the program. Before I do that, I just want to mention that we will do a focus session on the KTH methodology. So probably before summer, we're going to send an invite for a more workshop-like session for all the mentors. So we'll get back to you real soon on that. Now we're going to move over to the mentor introductions.